In this video, I'm going to break down the exact sales process that I use for my own business and also for my clients to help us get a 70 to 80% show up rate on sales calls, whilst also eliminating and reducing the amount of objections that we get. So it makes it a lot easier for us to actually close deals and for me to grow my agency and for my clients to grow their coaching business. So let's get straight into this video. I promise you, if you stay till the end, you're going to get a ton of value. And this is something that you can literally just copy and paste inside of your own sales process to make sure that you reduce no-shows and also make it a lot easier for you to actually close the deal and bring on more students for your coaching business. So let's get straight into it. Now, the first thing that I want to focus on is just understanding why people don't show up for sales calls. Now, the first one is pretty obvious. They simply forget. And you can solve this quite easily with email/SMS reminders. Maybe sometimes something like really like a family emergency or something like that happened, and there's not really much you can do about that. But for the most part, a lot of the time, it's just simply because they forget. And if it's not because they forget, I would say the other 30-40% of the time is because they aren't excited enough/ don't care enough. And that is because they might have booked the call, and at the time they were like, yeah, they were really excited to speak to you and learn about what you can do to help them. But by the time the call rolls around, they've sort of lost that motivation and that excitement, and they've almost forgotten why they booked the call in the first place. And because of that, they're not super excited, and they're just sort of like, you know what, maybe I'll book in another time, or I can't be bothered right now, I'm too tired, I'm too busy. And this is what we need to focus on, and this is what we need to focus on changing. Because imagine this, right? If for some reason, whatever reason, they knew that if they were to jump on this call, they were gonna get $50,000. Do you think they're missing that call? No, because they're gonna be so excited to get that $50,000. So I want you to think of it like that. What is the one thing that is going to excite them the most? And obviously, this is going to differ from industry to industry. From if you're a dating coach or fitness coach or a binge eating coach, whatever it is, you know your target market's biggest desires. They need to think in their head that, okay, if I come on this call, I can achieve that desire. And this is how you're going to position it. And this is how you can actually sort of accomplish that goal. So first things first, you should have a booking page, and I like to use Calendly. You can use Acuity Scheduling as well. There's loads out there, but on your booking page, you want to have some qualifying questions. Now, some people are not going to answer these questions, and if they can't be bothered to answer those questions, then you don't want to really speak to those type of people anyway, because it shows that they're not committed, and they're probably not going to buy, and they're probably just going to be wasting everybody's time. So obviously it does create more friction, but it also weeds out people who aren't serious. And you can also pre-qualify people before you even take the time of actually jumping onto a call. So essentially you just want to get some basic information out of them, like the name, email, briefly explain their current situation, what their desired situation is, their goals, what's holding them back. And then also, if you want, you can have a what is their budget to invest / their occupation. And sometimes I don't like the budget to invest question too much, because I feel like sometimes people just might choose the lowest one, just so that the other part, they might think that, oh, okay, if I choose a high one, then they're going to charge me higher. So I don't like that question too much. You can use it if you want. But another really good question to ask can be occupation. So you can sort of understand if they're going to be able to afford it or not, right? If they're a student, then they might not be able to afford your course. But if they're like, I don't know, if they're a lawyer, if they're in a high paying corporate job, then those are probably the type of people that you want to go. And once again, this depends on your industry. But like I said, it's just going to create more friction, but that's going to weed out the people who aren't serious. You can pre-qualify people with it. And another thing that people don't think about is, if you add more friction, people are more likely to remember it because of that friction. So if you just have your booking page and all they have to do is click two buttons and they're booked in, then it's a lot easier to forget that, because it was so effortless. Whereas if you're asking these questions, like getting them to describe their current situation, their goals, etc. That's going to stay in their mind a lot more because of that extra friction. So once you've booked them in, or once they've been booked in, they should immediately get a booking confirmation. And what I like to do on the booking confirmation email is just be a little bit straightforward and position myself as an authority. So have some requirements for the call. For example, you must be in a quiet area, you must have your camera on, show up 5 minutes early, etc. And if you don't show up for the call and you don't provide a reason, then you can't reschedule the call, something like that, right? Just because that's going to make you come across as an authority, and it's just going to make people take you a lot more seriously. So you want to have an immediate booking confirmation. Now, the next thing that you want to do, and this is where the actual sales part starts, and this is where you're actually going to get them excited for the call, is you want to be showing them content and sales assets that are really going to make them think, wow, this person can really help me, and sort of just keep you top of mind. Number one, to stop them from forgetting about you, but number two, to also make you and make the call more exciting. So in a sales asset, you can just literally send an email, and sometimes you can do this in the booking confirmation as well, or you can just do it 1 hour after they book the call. It doesn't really matter too much. But in the sales assets, you want to essentially introduce yourself, explain who the call is for, have some case studies and what they can expect from the call. Now, having the case studies is really important, and essentially, you just want to highlight how you've helped Jenny and this person and that person achieve that goal. And it's possible for them as well. They need to understand that, okay, if I jump on this call, I can be like Jenny, or I can be like that person who was in that case study. So that's what you want to do with a sales asset. And what this is going to do, number one, is it's going to increase the know, like, trust factor and build more rapport. Just because the more time they spend with you online before the call, the more likely it is they're going to buy, because they're just going to trust you more, they're going to like you more, etc. And I like to just have something like important, watch before the call, and something like, oh, it's important that you watch this before the call so that you are fully prepared. And that usually makes people watch it. And then it can just be a sales asset. And if you do want if you do want them to have something prepped for the call, then you can also include that in the video. Like if you want to say something like, make sure that you've thought about these questions because this is what we're going to be discussing on the call, something like that, then I would really recommend you do that as well. But having this important watch before the call is just going to help pre-sell them. Now, email 2, what I like to do is have an invitation. This is more for my clients, is just having an invitation to join our clients' free community. And what we do is we just offer a lead magnet, like a free resource. And when they click the link, they need to join the group to access it. So they click the link for the free resource. We say, hey, here's a free resource on XYZ, and click the link below to access it. And when they click the link, they need to join the Facebook group. And the reason we do this is because, let's say they come onto the sales call, but they don't move forward with the program because they're just not ready yet. They might be ready in 6 to 12 months. And because they've joined their Facebook group, because they've joined your Facebook group, sorry, now you can just sort of like, whenever you post content inside, they're constantly being nurtured and marinated until they're ready to jump on the call again and actually buy this time. So that could be in 2 weeks, that could be in 4 months, 6 months, it doesn't matter. But it's just an automatic process that you don't have to think about. And it's a really good way to just collect all of your warm leads that didn't actually buy, that may buy later on down the line when they're either financially ready or they just know you, like you, and trust you a lot better. Third one, email 3, is a written confirmation. So this is really good. And what it's good for is just to make sure that they actually show up on the call. This isn't really to pre-sell them or anything. Just making sure that they show up on the call. So you could just say something like, due to high demand, I'm going to need written confirmation that you are actually going to be on the call. Otherwise, your call will be cancelled. And majority of people are just going to give that written confirmation if they are actually serious about jumping on the call. And what you can also do is, if you have like long form content on your YouTube channel or some other platform, I always like to just add in something like, oh, in the meantime, watch this video on where you're going to learn how to do XYZ. Because like we said before, right, the more time they spend with you, the more time the more likely it is that they're actually going to buy from you because they've spent more time with you. They know you, like you, and trust you better. Email 4 is 6 hours before the call. And this is literally just more proof, case studies, testimonials, show them what is possible. Sometimes you can have like a client interview in there if you have a client interview, or it could just be a case study or just a testimonial from your programs. Pretty self explanatory. And then the final reminder. And once again, I want to just like reiterate the expectations. Be 5 minutes early. Make sure you're in a quiet area. Make sure you have the camera on, etc. And just having that final reminder. So I think that's like 5 or 6 touch points. And to be honest, you can add more if you want. I feel like you just want to have 2 to 4 pieces of content inside of these email sequences. And you can just say something like, hey, really looking forward to our call. Just wanted to remind you our call is on X date at X time. In the meantime, watch this piece of content where I show you how to do XYZ. And that way you're constantly reminding them and you're constantly pre-selling them. You're removing any objections if you have the correct content in place, and you're just building more rapport, making it more likely that they are going to buy from you. So I hope you found this video helpful, and I think you should definitely implement this sales process. If you don't have something like this, you can just implement the workflows on Calendly if you have the paid plan, and Calendly will automatically shoot this stuff out. It shouldn't take you longer than an hour to set up, but once you've set it up once, you don't need to worry about it. And every time somebody books on a call, they're being constantly reminded, they're being constantly nurtured, and they're actually getting excited for the call, which is going to make it a lot more likely for them to show up. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe. And if you are a coach or a consultant who's making between 5 to 10K per month and you want to learn how to scale past 20, 30, 40K, then make sure you hit the bell with it so that you get notifications every time I upload. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.